200-plus attack drones now appear to be poised for a possible showdown over Taiwan, as Iran's war with the United States threatens to open a hellish two-front apocalypse spanning Asia and the Middle East. As the Iran war rages on and consumes Washington's focus, China is quietly arming up near Taiwan, steadily expanding its strike capability just off the island shores. Chinese bases in Fujian province are now bristling with so-called Taiwan killer drones, purpose-built to swarm across the strait and overwhelm Taiwanese defenses in the opening hours of a clash. Beijing appears ready to exploit the carnage and distraction of America's war with Iran, potentially using the moment to prepare the ground for a future invasion of the self-ruled island. As the People's Liberation Army masses around 200 J-6 drones and decoys along the Taiwan Strait, Iran continues to bleed US forces in the Middle East, stretching American power across two distant fronts at once. China has stationed attack drones at air bases close to the Taiwan Strait, according to a report citing Reuters, raising fresh concerns in Taipei and Washington. These attack drones are reportedly converted from obsolete supersonic fighter jets, repurposing aging airframes into expendable unmanned strike platforms. All this is happening as US President Donald Trump weighs sending another 10,000 American troops to the Middle East amid the intensifying war with Iran, further stretching US commitments. Taiwan fears the Iran war is draining US long-range cruise missile stockpiles at the very moment China is stepping up its warnings and military pressure around the island. Satellite imagery of key airfields, published in the February China Airpower Tracker report, offers new visual evidence of Beijing's growing drone posture near Taiwan. The report, produced by the Mitchell Institute for Aerospace Studies and cited by Reuters, analyzes these images to assess China's evolving air power strategy. It shows what appear to be lines of stubby, swept-wing aircraft on the tarmac, closely matching the profile of old J-6 fighters now believed to be converted into drones. Since their conversion, these drone aircraft have been identified at 5 separate bases across China's Fujian province, directly opposite Taiwan. Another similar aircraft was also observed at an airbase in Guangdong province, suggesting the program's footprint extends beyond just the immediate Taiwan Strait front. A senior fellow at the Mitchell Institute said China's People's Liberation Army has deployed around 200 or more of these converted fighter drones to airfields near Taiwan, positioning them for potential use in a crisis. A former US naval intelligence officer explained that in a conflict, these drones would be flown directly into targets during the opening phase of an assault on Taiwan, acting more like cruise missiles than traditional UAVs. Notably, China now dominates the global commercial drone market and is pouring resources into military drone technology, leveraging its industrial base to scale both civilian and combat systems. Experts say the converted drones identified in the Mitchell Institute report are just one element of Beijing's expanding mix of air power weapons, which also includes bombers with standoff missiles, modern fighters, and large numbers of advanced UAVs. China is making significant strides in expanding its nuclear arsenal, even as tensions rise over its threats and preparations for a possible move against Taiwan. The Pentagon now estimates that China possesses in excess of 600 nuclear warheads, with projections that this number will continue to climb sharply over the next few years. Beijing continues to emphasize its declared no-first-use nuclear policy, insisting that its ongoing buildup is purely defensive and aimed at deterring external threats rather than seeking nuclear superiority. Chinese officials also stress that, despite recent growth, their nuclear stockpile remains far smaller than those of the United States and Russia, both of which still hold several thousand warheads each. Chinese President Xi Jinping has repeatedly declared that Taiwan will ultimately be unified with the mainland, framing reunification as an inevitable outcome of history and national rejuvenation. The United States officially adheres to the One China policy, which rejects Taiwanese independence even as it maintains ties with Taipei and carefully manages tensions with Beijing. At the same time, US law requires Washington to provide Taiwan with the means to defend itself in the event of war, underpinning ongoing arms sales and security cooperation under the Taiwan Relations Act. China has also issued warnings to Japan over Tokyo's stated willingness to come to Taiwan's defense if the island is attacked, signaling that any conflict could quickly widen beyond the strait. Interestingly, a March 18 threat assessment by US intelligence agencies concluded that a near-term invasion is unlikely, despite the rising rhetoric and military activity around Taiwan. The report stated that Chinese leaders don't currently plan to execute an invasion of Taiwan in 2027, and that Beijing still prefers to seek control without resorting to full-scale force if it can.